Hello everyone, how nice to see you all. Welcome to this Wednesday's installment of our global training series. I hope you're all doing great because today we have a wonderful guest. And well, here we are in the 5th month of our global training series, which has been a huge success. I have a very dear friend here with me, our Iberia sales director, my dear Yami. How are you, Kami? I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me well? Perfect. It's a pleasure, an honor to be here with you. Of course, leading this call, this global training series, this tool made available to all our influencers in whatever country they may be, where they can run our pharmacy business. So first, I want to thank you for this opportunity, not just for today's call, but also for the previous ones and those to come, to serve all our pharma influencers. They are very, very valuable for your business. I really hope, that a lot of people are connected to Jose, because we have an exciting afternoon ahead of us. That's right. Tune in. Share the invitation so more people can join in. Look, Jamie, we agreed on the background. All in all, and on that note. And on the headset too. And on the jet too. Jamie, before introducing our guest, I know you had a spectacular event back in Cadiz. So tell us a little bit about the event that took place and the one coming up now. We did indeed have a Paraíso Europa event last April in Cadiz, one of the most beautiful areas in the entire Iberian Peninsula, with some stunning beaches. Plus, we had great weather, but above all, we were joined by more than 700 pharma influencers, Jose, who came from all over Europe. It was truly amazing to see pharma influencers from so many countries. We spent 4 days together there, doing everything from training sessions to high-level workshops. We also had time for fun because it was a very enjoyable event, but above all, time to spend with our pharma influencers and to connect pharma influencers from different teams. And the key to all of this is that we've already launched the qualification process for the next Paraíso in 2027. And now we have... Tell us more, Jamie, because there was a lot of anticipation last week. That's right. It's now officially launched for all our pharmaceutical influencers in the European region as well. The qualification period runs from this May through next December, from now until the end of the year. And what you need to secure your spot is 6,000 vacation points. We've called them vacation points, but what does one vacation point equal in terms of your personal volume? For the current month, that is your personal volume, for example, for this month of May. Personal volume from your new referrals that you have this month of May. That total will give you 1 vacation point, and you need to accumulate 6,000 vacation points. From this month of May through December, the minimum monthly requirement to remain active in the qualification is to achieve at least. You must always achieve 100 points of personal volume every month and have at least 2 active signups each month. Of course, if you achieve much more than that, it will help you toward your qualification. We'll have that very soon. Also, there's a tracker on the website where you can monitor your progress. But the key, as we always say, is to get involved. Sorry for the colloquial expression. But you need to get connected this May with your highest possible personal volume, with as many active signups as possible this May, because that's what will allow you to develop a solid strategy starting from June through December. But the key is this month of May. Do as much as possible, and based on that, implement your strategies for the rest of the year. That's right. May is historically one of the best months of the year, so we have to take advantage of it. We're doing well, Jamie. That's right, dear Jose. That's right, so let's go all out this May. Excellent. So, a trip you're going to win through sheer perseverance. It'll be 8 months, and you'll have the chance to be on some beautiful beach in Spain, right? That's right. Very, very soon we'll reveal where the event will take place. It's still a surprise. We're putting the finishing touches on it. We're going to keep it a bit of a mystery, but it's also going to be, of course, an incredible beach destination. Excellent, my dear Jamie. Well, let's dive right into today's training session and tell us about the excellent leader who's here with us. We were preparing with her yesterday, and now she's here and ready in the studio, so tell us who's here today, Javi. I'll tell you, Jose. Our guest today is wrapping up this month, May, marking nothing less than her third month as vice president. Impressive. I mean, May is a very, very important month for her, but the most inspiring part of her story is, I think it's when she started. She didn't come from a multi-level marketing background. She had no prior experience in this industry, but she did have that desire to grow, that desire to learn, that desire to build something big. And I think this is proof that you can absolutely start from scratch and achieve extraordinary results. So I'm just saying, get your pen and paper ready. I already have my notebook here because I'm sure we're going to learn a lot, a whole lot, from her story, her mindset, and everything that has brought her to where she is today. So I think all that's left is to introduce our dear Yassa Vilchez, who's here with us. Yaziari, how are you?
Hi. Hi. Can you hear me?
Perfect. We can hear you.
Thank you so much for everything. Thanks, Jaime. Thank you, Jose, for the introduction and also for inviting me here to be part of this wonderful global mentoring group. I'm fully committed to doing my part so that we can continue to grow within this important company, so that many people are inspired by my story and feel motivated to achieve their goals, and so that we can grow even further as pharmacy. Above all, let's build our legacy. I am in love with this industry, and I feel that this is a message I want to convey to each and every one of you here.
Yassari, we have a presence here in the United States, in Spain, in Central America, and in South America. Tell us a little bit about what life is like for a leader with an international team.
Well, the truth is that I took this business very seriously. From day one, I've considered it a global business. So wonderful and so important that it allows you to travel everywhere. So, I started building the team here in Spain. Of course, that's where I live most of the time. And since I'm Nicaraguan, the Central American part came easily to me. So I started, and they told me, you can run this business anywhere in the world. So I started by talking to everyone I knew. Today I have an organization in more than 12 countries, so I get to travel all over the world. I love spending time with them. I love training them. I mean, we've adapted a lot to Zoom meetings and the whole system we have with the organization, but for me, being able to share is very important. So we're holding events all over the world.
It's amazing. It's amazing how much this business allows you to do. And not just that. It's not just about running your business in the country where you are, but about running it and having a global business. So we congratulate you on that because you're truly building an impressive business already. I believe that all of our pharma influencers who are connected here today, I encourage you all. Look, I've got my paper and pen here to take notes because you've got a great masterclass prepared for us. No, you know.
Right, I just want to confirm. Well, and also as a true Latina, I really love spending time with the team, don't I? It's super important. Let me know if you can see my screen. Over here, if you can see it. There.
If we can see your screen, then you can go ahead with the presentation.
Can you see the presentation there, Jose? Okay, let me do it.
But can we see your screen?
And there.
Maybe you shared a window if you can share your screen.
Yeah, I think I shared the window. Let me. Let's share the full screen. Let me know when you can see the presentation. Done.
Now we can see it, and if you can just get it to look perfect, that's all. Perfect.
Or, okay, fine.
So we'll leave you to it, Yazari. The audience is yours. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much, really. Well, first I want to tell you all a little bit about myself. My name is Yassa Vilchez. I'm Nicaraguan, a pharmacist, and a business administrator. I moved to Spain 4 years ago and have been living in Madrid for the past 3 years. I want to tell you a little bit about how I was that person who did everything you told me to. The traditional system, told me to study hard, get good grades, and land that ideal job, that spectacular job. And for a short time in my life, I achieved that, so to speak. And since I was 21, I've held various international management positions at different pharmaceutical companies. My last traditional official job was as a Latin America area manager for a very large pharmaceutical company. So that allowed me from a very young age to become resilient. I feel that when people move to a new country, when we take on different roles, we grow through life. That shapes your character and helps you mature emotionally and professionally. I was in charge of a high-performance team when I was 21. That allowed me to be empathetic toward the people I work with and to understand how human beings function in terms of goals and motivation, and the different approaches one has to adopt throughout life, especially to achieve those objectives and goals. From day one, I was able to pursue my career, and I love it deeply. I feel that pharmacy has contributed to that aspect I've always talked about. I want to study something that allows me to help improve people's quality of life, and pharmacy allows me to contribute to people's quality of life in various ways, starting with physical health. Of course, mental health is one of the things I promote the most, and of course, so-called financial health, which, as Latinas, isn't something we're taught in many of our countries. It's so important, but nowadays, if we have financial stability, we feel better, we can solve countless problems, and we're more empowered as women because we also contribute to the household. In other words, having financial freedom. I feel like this marks a turning point, not just for women, but for everyone. Allow me to share 14 months of transformation at pharmacy. I know that doesn't sound like much, but the truth is it's been a huge growth experience for me. Despite my background in another network marketing industry, I knew absolutely nothing, but I came in with a real hunger and eagerness to learn. From day one that I entered this industry, I said to myself, I set my mind to it, I'm going to become one of the best. I'm going to give it my all to become one of the best leaders here. Besides, for this to work, since this is the first time I've started a business, I've always been an employee. I've always been an employee. So it was my first time starting a business, and it was like the answer to that prayer. I want to do something for myself that depends 100% on me, where I don't have to ask permission to be able to do this, to make use of my time, and to be there for my family at all times, for important birthdays, that I can go on a trip whenever I want, and so on. So it's been 14 months of transformation, as you said, but from the very first minute. I've always been a super resilient, organized, and structured woman. I've stuck to the pharmacy system, the training system, and above all, I understood from day one that this is about developing people, about building leaders, not just developing myself, but helping others grow. Amid all that development, there were certain things I had to figure out, right? First, in the industry I was in, which is a business that influences people, I had to have a solid understanding of the business. Of course, this is extremely important for everyone here. Do you want to see results in pharma? If you need to know the compensation plan, you don't necessarily have to know every last detail. But one of the important things, once I understood how pharma worked, since the system is such that for 2 full days, I did various exercises to understand how money was made, how I helped others grow, how that growth was achieved through percentages, ranks, and so on. Was that once I understood it, it became easier for me to explain it to the rest of the team. And of course, defining strategies and timelines. Just like any business or any entrepreneurship program, you have to be clear from the start. I joined this one. For money, for financial transformation, for physical transformation. Why? Why am I in this business? And what is the reason behind that goal? I'm going to set deadlines. I'm going to establish a timeline. Or K. I had my other job. People who practice pharmacy and still have their traditional job. Or people who are now only with pharmacy. So how long will it take before I quit my job? How long before I dedicate myself solely to pharmacy? What kind of income do I need to be able to do that? So Margarita, you always mention something that can't be measured, can't be achieved, can't be transformed. So I realized I had to invest time in it. I had to develop a strategy and a plan tailored to my circumstances. As a Latina immigrant in Spain, as a Latina in Europe. And of course, that's when I started the organizational part. Goals, schedule, calls, events. I started to get the hang of the system. I had 2 days at the pharmacy, and when I went on my first impact route, it was something really important. I said, the point here is for me to stay connected to the system as much as possible. I'm going to try not to miss a single call. I'm going to try to attend all the training sessions. Be self-taught. Of course, I started watching the videos. I watched them as many times as necessary so I could understand the compensation plan. And of course, I understood the demographic environment I was in so I could run this business. Key factors that drove my growth at pharmacy. I want to share with all of you that this is something very personal, what worked for me to reach the rank of vice president in 14 months. Every journey is completely different. The pace at which each person grows is also completely different. And with that, I want to emphasize that we shouldn't compare ourselves to others. Some people have moved more quickly through the process than others. Some people are more focused, some have more time, and some have less. And so on. I always say, it's all about organization, but no two processes are the same for each of us. And of course, everyone does it differently, depending on what works for you in terms of your demographic and social environment, as well as the country you're in. So this is something that worked for me. First and foremost, mindset and approach. I always mention this in every single mentoring session. Targeted strategies and clear goals. Why segmented? Because, as you know, it's a global business. But the demographic and sociocultural context of how this business is conducted in Spain is completely different from how it is done in the United States or in markets such as Central America. So first I have to analyze what kind of strategy and what kind of activities I'm going to pursue depending on the market, where I want to be, where I want to grow, or where my leaders are. Leadership within your team. Of course, I always mention this. That's what it's all about. It's not just about Yazari becoming a vice president. It's about the fact that behind me, there are already 2 people in a diamond. The next 4 people are at the emerald level. I have more than 6 people at the platinum level throughout the organization, more than 36 at the gold level, and more than 47 at the bronze level. And directors, in total, in my organization, more than 120. So the point is that if it's something that works for me, I'll be able to share it with my entire organization so they can put it into practice too and experience the same growth I did. Mindset and approach. Why do I feel that it has been key in this business? Because since this is a business where we're working with people all day long, mindset is super important. Everyone goes through different stages throughout their lives. We all have our wounds. We all go through different stages of growth. And even the moment each of us is in right now is completely different. So having the right mindset, regardless of external factors or the situation you're currently in, that will be a determining factor in whether you can achieve results in business. So why is it important to have a mindset that recognizes this is a business, that I'm going to give it my all, that I don't need a boss telling me how to do things or when to do them so I can focus on my own, because it's a business that faces a lot of rejection. It's a business that involves doubts, and it's a business that goes through different stages of frustration. Because we humans are emotional beings, so it's important that we're clear about our purpose from day one, because every time you have a not so great day, It's not that we have bad days, just a not so great day. As for prospecting, sales, or whatever activity you're doing, if it's an activity and people aren't coming to you, as long as you have your purpose, of course, the next day or later that same day, will you get back up? That very same day, instead of saying, no one came to my event, or I didn't recruit the people I had planned to, or they didn't come to me the way I dreamed, that very same day, you're going to say, okay, what happened? What do I need to do differently so that it works for me this time? Where do I need to start? What should my ad have been like? How should I have approached prospecting? How should I respond to messages from everyone who contacts me? So instead of focusing on the negative, a winning mindset, a positive mindset, will allow you to turn the situation around and say, okay, here's what I don't need to do from now on. I'm going to try different approaches until one works for me, because there's also a super important quote from Margarita Passo. This is going to work because I'm going to make it work. So it's really no different. What I've done and what other people have done is simply this, starting from day one. I said, this is going to work for me. Like, my name is Azari. I'm going to do everything in my power. To make this work, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to learn everything I need to, and I'm going to make time for it, because you can't pass up something that's going to change your life. The time you have left over has to be quality time. So part of the mindset includes all those factors that will help you stay focused no matter what situations you face and avoid getting frustrated. On the contrary, you need discipline, which is absolutely key in this business. And people always ask me, what do you mean discipline? Discipline. I didn't do it today. I also didn't get the results I needed. I'll do it differently tomorrow. I didn't get the results I wanted today. I'll do it differently again, and then I'll do it differently again, because there are thousands of ways to reach the goal, not just one. And it's not like I gave up on path number 5 and decided that this wasn't working for me anymore. Quite the opposite, because remember that our dreams are non-negotiable. My goals are non-negotiable, so I'm going to reach my goal. I don't know how long it will take me to get organized, but it's 100% up to me. That's where we don't lose focus. On the contrary, we practice discipline to work on this every day, and that's super important. People always follow leaders who deliver results and have positive energy in your first month. Of course, I was talking about the business from my very first month of knowing the industry, and I went to speak with the biggest leaders in multi-level marketing. I approached them with all the professionalism in the world, and they all told me, I love it. It's a spectacular industry, with all due respect. They also told me, but I need to see results. I need to see that you're making progress and how focused you are. So from there, my purpose became even greater. From there, I'm going to focus on getting more results. Of course, when it comes to physical transformation, if we're talking about the health industry, we're talking about amazing products. I have to achieve a physical transformation. Socially, we're talking about results. We're not just talking about financial results or ranking results, but also physical results, which is something super important that we don't always prioritize. All of that, strategy and goals, from day one. And I always tell my team that. Keep a cool head in business. This is a business. This is a company. This isn't something where I'm going to spend 2 hours of my life on it today, then an hour tomorrow, and then just completely disconnect, like going on a 2-week trip without looking at my phone, right? Quite the opposite. If I have tasks to do, I delegate them to people who will take care of the work I need to get done. If I'm going through a tough time, I seek help. I have an assistant, whatever I need. But I have to keep a clear head about how I'm going to be able to achieve and transform, to go through that transformation process, whether it's physical or about those results. But above all, to be able to make it happen. Goals that I set for myself. So something important that I emphasize here is that, no, it's not necessarily that you have to know everything about the business. I didn't know anything about it. Pharmacy. I didn't know anything about multi-level marketing. Other companies were mentioned to me, leaders came from other teams, and I was the kind of person who just stood there like that. Sure, I had completely bought into the compensation plan and the pharmacy aspect, but that's when I said, I need to understand the competition too. Because I'm a professional and I'm taking this seriously. Seriously. This business? So I need to understand the competition and how they operate so that I can also defend my pharmacy project when I'm presenting to other people, or so that when they make a comparison or raise an objection, I can set it apart. What I'm doing, my project, and above all, the kind of transformation I'm going through. That's super important. The level of professionalism with which you've approached this has been one of the things that's helped me the most. What I've really seen in terms of results is that discipline is super important, but taking on the role of the entrepreneur that you are from day one and presenting it with complete seriousness. Given how big this business is, given the multi-million-dollar industry we're in, because this isn't about me just giving a presentation and out of ignorance or excitement, just going through the motions. I see a pharmacy item. I don't want to meet with you because I want to present the project I'm working on to you. So from the very beginning, just like we do, we send that message from the very start. Whether we're meeting up, having coffee in business, a why in business, or any activity we do. It starts with the tone of the invitation. That says a lot. So it's not the same as saying, check this out, sounding like a desperate woman. Pharmacy. We want a lot of people to join us, but the type of invitation, the professional tone you use, is what will get people to respond, to actually engage with you, and most importantly, to actually show up for the meeting because you sparked their interest in a real business opportunity, and above all, because they saw you as the professional that you are. One of the most important things. Another point I always mention, this isn't a fly-by-night business. This is done with a clear strategy, discipline, the right mindset, and all the factors I've been mentioning. So it's extremely important. How well do we know our business? We know what C-Pharmacy is all about. We know how we're doing it. We're communicating, whether through social media or in person, the company's goal, mission, and vision. So we understand the demographic factors in the country we're targeting. As I was saying, I had to analyze in depth how to run the business here in Spain versus how to run it in Latin America, because they are totally different cultural characteristics. So where do I start in Europe? Which line should I focus on more here versus which line should I focus on more in the US? I know that one. For example, I can say that the products are affordable for anyone in a market where the minimum wage is $20. It works completely differently. So from there, we begin to segment our strategy. From there, we started saying, okay, I'm going to pitch this to someone in Venezuela as a project with all the seriousness in the world, but it's a different approach than how I might present it from Spain. What is an open market? It's not a closed market. There are no courier fees here, and so on. So how well do you know the business? Does that mean that if I'm prospecting someone, to stick with the example of Venezuela, I already handle shipping, I already handle costs, I already handle delivery times for when the product will reach them, and the huge community we already have there? So, above all, what kind of system or what kind of training will that person need? It'll be the training from the US because they're on the plan. From the US versus me sending them to training in Europe, although it depends on the training. Of course, I always say, they all add up, but also so we can focus on the person we're prospecting. Defining a clear starting goal is super important. So for me, it was crucial to ask, and I always ask this of all my VI partners as well, what monthly income would make you happy with that monthly income? Or what monthly income would allow you to transform your life? Are you, for example, deep in debt? Are you in the process of wanting to move to a new home or buy a car? Given your current financial situation, how much do you need to reach that goal? Or with what income? Would you be ready for this? I can adjust for groceries, for your car payment, for your kids, school, for moving, for whatever your need may be, because that purpose, that income, will determine the numbers we're about to look at. The number of products you need to sell, for example. Because remember, we're in a business where you have both personal volume and group volume. So, yes, I'm using Morning Glow because it's helping me with my skin's glow, my hair, and so on. So, knowing how many Morning Glow products I need to sell in a month or move throughout my entire organization is super important. How many people need to join my organization for that goal to be met? Remember that everything has to be measured to achieve that goal. So, how many people do I need to sign up every month, week, or day to reach that goal? If I'm going to be an emerald in 6 months, that's it. How many leaders do I need to have a perfect emerald within each of those leaders? How many people I need to be clear about the structure I'm going to follow, the evolution of the market where I am, and also, of course, the mindset of each person who's with me in the business. And that brings us to the number of leaders to develop, because we're not just talking about the part that closes the rank, but the number of leaders I'll need to ensure that rank is met, because I can't do it if I want to reach Emerald, and that's 8 leaders. I'm not just working with 8 leaders in development, I'm working with at least 12, right? And so there are certain factors we have to take into account to be able to define that goal, to determine how long it will take me to reach my first director rank, and how long it will take me to advance from director to gold, platinum, emerald, vice president, or executive vice president. So this is super important. I always say this. A business without goals is like getting into a car, or a car here in Spain without a steering wheel, or like your GPS isn't working. So it's the same thing. When it comes to goals, we need to have both quantitative and qualitative goals. For example, qualitative goals could be, I want to have a very large community of women. I want to help a lot of people. I'm going to focus on helping those women who are postpartum, and I'm going to help them feel beautiful again, feel fulfilled with their bodies again, and so on. But that covers the qualitative part. Now comes the quantitative part as well. So we need to be clear about both of these aspects. The quantitative goals include what I mentioned earlier, targets, the number of leaders I'm going to work with, and the number of months it will take me to reach those targets. Because one very important thing is that this is a growth business. We'd all love to. I know this happens to all of us, and even more so, we'd all love to be a director next month, and in 6 months, already be a vice president, and be in charge of communications, and have a paycheck like Alejandra Fernandez's. I know we'd all like that, but we also have to understand that there's a process each of us has to go through, and that this is a business, one you build every day through daily actions, weekly actions, and monthly actions. So yes, we'd all love to become millionaires next month, yes, but we have to be clear that this is a business of building. So our quantitative goals aren't just going to be monthly. Our quantitative goals have to be for the coming years, at least for the first 3 years. We need to be clear about what we're going to do, that we're going to do everything in our power to make this business work and keep tracking our growth so we can achieve those goals. So, are we ready to establish a daily and monthly work plan to reach those targets? A work plan is super important. You don't necessarily need to use Excel or anything like that. You can use a notebook, a notepad, whether you're the type who likes to write things down or prefers to see things visually, but use whatever tools work for you to set those quantitative goals. For example, say, I want to become president. Yes, president. How many female directors are there? How long am I going to give myself, at least in my first 2 years? What kind of growth and development will I experience? I mean, just to set the bar really high, right? But can we do the same thing with the director level? I just joined pharmacy. My goal this month is to reach the director level. I have 15 days, 14 to make it, sorry, less. Anything is possible. Let's not get hung up on the fact that I have less than 14 days left to reach that rank. Quite the opposite. And of course, my goal for the next few years, my goal for the next 3 months, 6 months, or however long it takes for me to become president. How much do I want my income to be? A monthly income that I would feel comfortable with. And of course, remember that all those goals, whether they're about rank or income, we have to break them down into daily actions and the number of people who need to join our organization. Understanding how that income works in pharma is absolutely crucial because it's not the same to be a president earning $100,000 or more as it is to be a president earning $40,050 to $100,000. To give an example, it makes a huge difference. It's not just about rank, but about building your organization and its entire structure and how you'll segment it as well. Let me know if I'm going too fast, please. Regarding quantitative goals, I also mentioned that we need to have monthly goals. Guys and gals, it doesn't have to be something so big or so out of reach that you feel it's unattainable. It has to be that goal that scares you. That's why I always bring it up. I mean, in the organization, we talk about it with the girls. That goal that stresses you out, that makes you want to throw up from nerves. That's the goal, because if you set a goal like, I'm at 18%, and for the director, yes, 1, it doesn't push you that hard, but when you say, no, I want to reach bronze, or I want to go for gold, and right now I'm doing everything I can to make that gold happen, and I don't just keep going for 3 months, then the next 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, even if I'm at 18%, that's fine, because I have to have an achievable goal within that. Medium term, so to speak, or short term, the month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and even 2. So those goals have to be simple. For example, personal goals like organizing events, reaching a minimum of 10 people for the MET, or if you feel that 10 is too many, 5 people this month, focusing on social media development and seasonal strategy. For example, with summer coming up, what kind of activities? I'm going with my whole team. I'm going to take advantage of the sun, the beaches, the people in Barcelona, the people in Alicante, in Valencia, or, the people in my Pacific region from any of the Latin American countries. What kind of activities will I create to take advantage of the weather we have right now? And what kind of events will I be able to organize? Likewise, for example, setting those goals. I always set quarterly goals. Of course, I have monthly goals, but I have my own way of thinking. Does that make it easier to understand? I need this goal for the next 3 months. So I set quarterly goals, and that's been one of the things that's helped me the most. How do I achieve those goals? Because I also make weekly adjustments to the goals I set for myself, as well as monthly adjustments. In other words, if I didn't reach the target I needed to in May, what do I need to do differently? What extra steps do I need to take to achieve it between June and July? But what needs to be done in that quarter has to be done in that quarter. So what kind of plan am I going to make? What kind of extra activities? What kind of mentoring will I participate in? Because that's super important when do you feel like you're not growing in a certain area? For example, I find the math part way too easy. I understand it really well, and my brain works with numbers. It's super easy. But when it comes to mindset, for example, that's a challenge for me. So what do? I team up with some of my colleagues in this brilliant community we're building. So I say, okay, let's form a partnership. You explain the mindset part, and I'll explain the numbers part. We're working together, which is one of the great things about pharmacy. It lets you combine different skills. Because we don't all have the same skills, and we have to make the most of that, not see it as a problem. It's just that, as a mindset coach, I don't think it's my thing. I'm not good with numbers, so let's find someone who's good at mindset and focus on our strengths to achieve both of our goals. Because remember that here we're working toward everyone's goals, not just mine, but rather what I bring to this person and what she brings to me as well. Then, of course, there's the part about organizing events. If I'm going to host small events, and I've never hosted an event before, I'm going to set a goal to host my first event. There, I've done my first event. This month, I'm going to set a goal. This month, I'm not going to do just one event. I'm going to do one every week. Okay, what about next month? Well, I'm already hosting weekly events for 510 people next month. let's aim for slightly larger events or events in different cities. I always tell the girls, let's make an Excel sheet with our goals. Why? I feel like it's much easier, or at least the same. In a notebook, you draw a grid and make lines. What's the first thing we need to define for ourselves? Set those goals in the short, medium, or long term. Having a clear understanding of our structure is super important. That is, how is my organization functioning and how many people join each month? How many people are not active that month? How many potential leaders have I identified? How many people? I develop them over the same amount of time it takes me to develop a new leader. We as leaders also need to be clear about the time it takes to develop people. That's what makes a good leader. One says, okay, perfect. People's learning curve is usually 3 to 4 months. In my case, because my entire organization doesn't come from a multi-level background. So is the growth process different? Feedback from someone who already comes from the industry. Someone who has already sold products or built an organization versus someone starting from scratch. So since I'm starting from scratch, it's also allowed me to measure myself as a leader. How long will it take me to develop a new director for my organization? So that's something really important because it's going to help you better define timelines. And something important here is that I have a group I always call the Director Factory. That's where we work with the leaders. So how does the time tracking part work? Remember that everyone's timelines are completely different from now on. We're going to start jotting things down in a notebook, on a sheet of paper. How am I progressing with my organization? How is that? What kind of tools? Well, we have the tools, amazing training programs in each of the organizations. A spectacular growth system, but also what kind of extra support do you provide as a leader, so to speak? So in my case, working with people from scratch, taking them from 9% to at least 9 to 12 to 15. And yes, there are stars who become managers in their first month, but normally, as I said, in a situation with people who have never worked before or who come from being at home or whatever. Is there a process of development? So what does that whole evolution process mean? I mean, in the first month, we're going to work and give it our all so you can reach 9%. So what does it mean to reach that 9% of activities we'll have in the month? I'm going to show you and help you. How do the activities work? Number of daily posts. How many people do we need to reach? Number of presentations, whether daily or weekly, that we'll have during the support process. And our social media presence. There are people who may not come from the industry or are starting from scratch, but they like social media and can go live on TikTok every day too. Start spreading the message or start talking about the products. So how many weekly closings? I'll need to get that person to 9% by next month and then bring them up to 12% to have a manager on average in 4 months. I always challenge all the girls to become directors in 4 months. So is it about working together with a person? That's super important. There's a training system, and as a leader, you provide support and guidance. But the other person also has to take on their share of the responsibility. So being proactive and having the willingness to invest time is really important. And I'll say it again, it's not about giving your spare time to a project that could change your life, because it has changed mine and the lives of so many people in the organization. It's about the fact that if MyoPlan is giving their time to help me with this business presentation, well, at least it's a business presentation, and it's my first attempt to reach 5, 10, 15 people, or the whole neighborhood, or the whole building, or to go knock on all my neighbors' doors, whatever you have to do. But that's where the reciprocity comes in. I'm going to do my part to make this work. This is an example of that. This, as I tell you, everyone's timing is totally different. And of course, there's also the time it takes for people to evolve, the demographic factor. Many things that will allow us to reach that so-called director within the first 4 months. And of course, it needs to be sustainable for the first 6 or 7 months. Likewise, there's a projection I like to do with the rest of the leaders. Side points, the number of VPs you need to have to reach, for example, that gold rank in the next 4 or 5 months, so you can reach platinum in the next 6 months, assuming you're a director right now in May. So there are countless activities. This is just an example of what has worked for me and how I project my goals, so it's important that each person in my organization, for example, I have a projection with each of my directors, and I talk with them, and we set timelines, outline activities, track growth, the number of leaders, and so on, so that they can reach those ranks within the timeframes we've established. Because after a diamond rank, there are title points, and so on. And remember that this isn't just about me growing, but about my entire organization growing with me. Because for me, an important factor has been not only that I hold a high rank, but that high ranks exist within my organization. So part of developing people is helping them achieve the goals they set for themselves. Follow the system, include everyone, and help them learn. So this is a bit about the examples I use with the directors, projections, and of course, I also have a larger Excel spreadsheet where each of my leaders is listed. And the projection goes through January of next year. And I have another one that's a little more detailed for the next 2 years, so. That's why I was telling you that I'm extremely data-driven, but I like to be organized because you're tracking timelines, you're talking to people, you're growing with them. And at the end of the day, this is the goal projection. It's established with them. It's not like, here you go, she says. That we reach gold or platinum isn't smart. It goes according to your own timeline, your own availability, and we create a projection and a synergy. So then we do what I call a goal alignment. We need to align our goals. There may be months when a certain deadline wasn't met. That's absolutely fine. This month, we're going to do things differently so that next month we can achieve it, or at least get closer and closer. But there has to be synergy between your leader and your entire organization, in this case, the director, so that those goals can be met. So, of course, we need to communicate with our leaders every day. We have to be aligned on the goals, of course. We need to talk about timelines, we need to talk about processes, and we need to talk about activities every single day, or at least on a weekly basis, so that those goals can be achieved. And so that there aren't situations where one person says, I see it this way, but it turns out differently. Reviewing those processes weekly is super important. Every Sunday, I review the entire organizational structure and follow up on the activities that were carried out. We had mentioned that we had a makeup class, how it went, the video, the photos. I know that sometimes we're all over the place, but remember, this is a company, it's an organization, so the owners of Apple aren't just sitting there without supervising every single activity that's done or doing extra work to make sure they get done, right? I mean, they're launching new products. An iPhone every 5 months because you've just bought a phone and they're already launching the next one. So all those activities add this or that, they do this differently, they do that, they do it this way, all those things. We have to apply all that activity to the business and adjust our goals. Of course, as the team grows, not everyone evolves in the same way, and that's perfectly fine. Each of us is different. It's just a matter of aligning everyone's timelines and processes. Celebrate each person's achievements, and as leaders, strive to give our best. Because one of the most important things I learned here at Pharmacy is that your team is your mirror. Develop monthly, weekly, and daily action plans, and so on. And with that, something super important. Our commitment to the development of Pharmacy stems from a very clear vision to create real opportunities for personal and professional growth. And I want to talk to you briefly about this because we're running out of time. What are the qualities of a successful leader? Well, first, why do we need to be clear about the qualities of a successful leader? Because that will help us improve as leaders and, of course, gain insight into everyone who joins our organization and how we can enhance the skills that each of them possesses. We also need to have persistence and perseverance. We need the ability to overcome adversity because there will be good months and not so good months. The ability to build a self-sustaining network because you won't be the leader forever, and a willingness to help others succeed. Identifying leaders, which is what will allow you to help those people grow, or being able to identify the skills or types of activities that would best support their development. It's important that we not only generate results as leaders, but that we also know how to positively impact others. We must constantly evaluate our ability to develop people. He developed leaders in 6 months. Now we're down to 4 months. Now we're down to 3 months. We're refining the strategy and the process so that this time frame gets shorter and shorter, and especially with them, because something I always mention to my team is that it took me 10 months to reach a diamond level. It took me 12 months. I'm going to help you, of course, counting on your willingness so that you don't take 10 months, so that you get there in 9, so that you get there in 8, because that's what it's all about if I've already been down this path. For the rest of the people in my organization, it has to be a little easier. Leadership KPIs, well, among the KPIs we need to identify, we have personal KPIs and team KPIs. These KPIs are factors that help us measure growth. For example, new contacts per week, the number of presentations made, which I'll be doing, the conversion rate I'm achieving on those deals, retention, which is important. Remember that here it's about acquiring new customers, but also about retention. That is, how many people are reactivated, or what percentage is growing with me, or social media activity where I need to improve my social media efforts and so on. And average ticket within my organization. In other words, the people on my team just show up and get things done with minimal effort. Where can we be more proactive so that those people increase their average ticket so they don't just stay at the minimum, and help them sell more? What do we need to do? Okay, because first I have to evaluate myself. Remember, so that I can help my team grow and meet the team's KPIs. How many active leaders do I have within my organization? The monthly retention of those leaders, because I think we're all going to see in our organization people who make it to director only to stay for 3 months and then, poof, they drop out. Others who fall by the wayside, and so on. The overall duplication rate within the organization, that's something that I've been implementing this for the last 3 months. I asked, what percentage of people are joining my organization each month, and how can I improve that KPI? And, of course, the volume per leader as well. If there's already someone like that in my organization, a diamond who sells 100,000 points a month, we're going to work to ensure that person also grows. Got it? We're not going for 100. We're going for 20%. Let's set achievable goals, but where are they going to come from? Or what kind of activities or different strategies are we going to implement? Or how are we going to improve our recruitment to make that happen? Or the average ticket, and so on. But remember that everything goes hand in hand. So that we can achieve that growth, I'm going to wrap up this section on leadership. For me, true leadership lies in succession, and what I teach my leaders is that this isn't just about Laya Lazarus becoming vice president. How nice. It's about how I'm building the leadership pipeline to develop leaders who are role models today. So sure, it feels great to walk onto a stage and all that, but it feels even better to see them grow. To see them, that is leadership. To watch them rise, both the women and the men. That's where I feel leadership truly develops, and you can see it in their growth and the approach they're taking. So for me, it's been crucial. And establishing a leadership pipeline, creating autonomous leaders, and impacting generations is incredibly important. Educating and transforming, because here it's about leveraging the system, of course. Creating a truly significant international community anywhere in the world, remember, and leaving a social legacy. What will that social legacy consist of? It consists of creating autonomous leaders, empowered individuals, transformed families, ensuring people have financial literacy, international growth, social impact, and, above all, a culture of support and leadership. Because that is where your legacy is truly established. For me, my legacy would be this: creating people who today can say, I have a culture of support and leadership toward the rest of my team members. We're making a social impact. Because we're reaching countries where pharmacy doesn't even have a presence yet. Well, it does have a presence there thanks to us, but not yet. Those aren't open markets. They belong to GLEM. We're transforming families. Of course we are. Autonomous leaders are emerging, of course, and we're providing financial education because it plays an important role. If we're going to make money, we need to have financial literacy to know where to invest all that money, because that's super important too. Where am I going to invest? What kind of properties, and so on, so that I can leave a legacy for my family. First, the legacy with your team, of course, and with your other organization. For the legacy, I'll leave my family. So for me, true leadership doesn't create eternal followers, because I'm not here to have eternal followers. For me, it consists of creating new leaders capable of transforming the world. So it's not just about me, since I've already left, transforming a little bit of what's in the world, but it's about all the women who are working with me, who are in our organizations, transforming their world and their environment as well. So remember, it's not just about one person shining, but about all of us shining. So is that something? That concludes the presentation. I don't know if you have any questions. Please ask if we have time for that. Sorry, we're going to stop accompanying you now.
Yes, sorry. Well, I loved the training session, and just like Jaime, I was taking some notes here, and I really liked what you said about goals in Excel and how you work on projections with your team. I see you think very numerically, and you also talked about a goal alignment process.
Correct.
So once you've done all that, how do you, as a leader, follow up with your team as they work on that alignment?
For example, I have leaders who tell me, Yazari, I'm working toward my platinum this month. And we analyze and align between the two of us the recruitment they need to do. That is, the basic activities they have to carry out. Because they might say, I want to reach platinum, but if they're only recruiting one person a month and don't have the volume, that's not going to happen. So we have to do the activities first, so that, as a result, the closing happens. What are the things to improve? Maybe my recruitment efforts, improving my closings, improving my directness, or to achieve that platinum, I need to have, at the very least, if I'm already gold, understanding that I'm on my way to platinum, I need to have two very solid leaders. Below that leader, there must already be some leadership. One of them is already bronze. Or are those two leaders at 5,000 points? So there are certain factors that I help you analyze, and will align them both as this manager is still at 5,000 points, and every month it's like she's struggling. We need to figure out what kind of activities we can work on with her so she can stay strong next month. And above all, the new leaders you've been working with. How many people does that person who's working toward a platinum rank have? In 1121, 15% out of 18. So we have to work with all those people. That is, whether they have 4 people, 3 people, or just 2 people. We have to improve the performance of everyone in the 3 to 6% range so we can bring that person up as well, and so you have more leadership depth to make that rank happen. And that's why, Jose, sometimes we analyze not just the first generation, but the second one, with the girls. So that goal framework has to be both from me to them and from them to their organization, because it's something that has to be fully replicable. Otherwise, it's useless for me to do it with her if they aren't aligned with their entire organization, because neither she nor anyone else will reach their goal. So I feel like we need to start reviewing all the activities we have to do to make that happen and ensure it comes to fruition.
I love it. So valuable, super valuable. Your question was more quantitative, and Ari's answer was sublime. The truth is, it's absolutely essential to have a good understanding of your organization's structure and to work with it so that, ultimately, the ranks can be filled effectively. No, I'm going to ask you something. You asked a quantitative question, Jose, so if you don't mind, I'm going to ask a more emotional one.
Okay.
Knowing that you started Sari with no prior experience in the multi-level marketing business that's closing down today, this past May, your third month as vice president, what would you say? What has been the most important shift in your mindset that has helped you become the leader you are today?
Keep in mind that the greatest growth we all experience within pharmacy is always in our mindset, regardless of ranks, numbers, or financial gain. It's all about mindset, because Leazari, who joined in her first month despite her corporate experience or whatever, isn't the same person she is today, and I feel that the transformation process has been more on the emotional side, because I've always said, I want to be a leader who opens up opportunities, who opens up countries, who opens things up. New ways to generate income in very poor regions or in countries where an income of $500 is 3 times the minimum wage. So the emotional aspect and the growth aspect. When I see all those people saying, thank you, Yassa, because you had the resilience to keep going. Thank you for doing such and such. I mean, for me, that has been the greatest growth, because there comes a point, Hammy, where you don't even see the check anymore. There comes a point where you see all those people you're transforming. So from which countries are they doing this? For me, the mindset is every day saying, okay, it's me and Azari, but I also have a big organization. I'm not going to give up because I'm afraid of giving up, or because I no longer want to keep negotiating in this country with all the mess that happens. I mean, because it's going to happen. But certain decisions have depended on me, and that's when I look back and say, I can't. I can't because there are so many people behind me. I can't give up because behind me are all those people who need so badly to change their lives. So for me, it's the collective commitment that the community creates. And that commitment is the goals I set for myself toward the true purpose with which I wanted to start Pharmas.
We'll take that message to heart, and we hope that purpose continues for a very, very long time, sorry.
Really?
That's right. I love that vision and what you said. Nizari, how has your focus been on bringing that business opportunity to other countries, where $500 definitely makes a difference? And actually, on that note, there's a question here from our audience from Claudia Jovel who asks, what made you decide to quit your job?
First and foremost, the freedom of time. I know it sometimes sounds like a cliche, but there comes a point in your life when you feel so fulfilled professionally. Have you landed that amazing job? You've reached that global position. I was the only Central American at such a large multinational pharmaceutical company, YY, overseeing an entire continent. But I always felt like I wasn't in control of my own time. That's when I said to myself, I need to do something for myself. I really need to change my life and help other people so they don't end up in this situation. As a woman, I feel like I also put off different things. Well, men do too. I'm not saying they don't, but women always feel like they sacrifice a little more in the sense of, do you put your career on hold to be a mom? I mean, society has always kind of taught us to put certain things on hold, not to avoid them, but to postpone them. So then motherhood gets put on hold, being a present mom gets put on hold, and so on. Not all industries or jobs allow for that, but in pharmacy, they do. It's a decision that, regardless of your position, whether you're the CEO or whatever, you had to go to an office. You have to clock in with your little finger. You have to be available for someone else. Whereas here, I organize it myself. So that was one of the most important factors. It was a real turning point for me. And of course, once the decision is made, there's no turning back. No turning back. It's not that I'm going through a rough patch at pharmacy. I'm going to update my resume. No, there's no turning back. I'm going all in. Let's make this work.
Wow, well, here we go. Seriously, what you shared today were great tools, and I loved it. Jaime, it covered both the emotional and mindset aspects, as well as tangible tools for working with the team, right? Absolutely. I think we're taking away not just those tools and that learning, but also inspiration. We're taking inspiration and that vision with us, and thank you again for sharing your experience and mindset with such humility. I truly believe that you have planted a seed, a very, very deep one, in everyone who has tuned in. Well, this late evening here in Spain, but also throughout the Americas, and surely throughout Europe because people are watching us from all over. So I've mentioned everyone's name now. Thank you so much.
No, thank you all so much. I'm happy to be able to share information, everything that has helped me, because I feel that's something beautiful, something we all have to do. Being able to share the different stages of growth. Thank you for inviting me, and I hope it's been helpful, that it adds to everything people can do to grow better, that it's about all of us growing together.
That's it. Let's see a photo of the three of us. Great. Well, my dear Zari, thank you so much. Thank you, Jaime, for being here as well. And next month we'll have Estefani Arevalo from the United States and Charlie Jeffs from the United Kingdom.
Thank you.
So don't miss it. And remember that the recording will be available in the content library. Best wishes to everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Goodbye.
Bye.